Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. My name is Doug. This is Metalworks Machine Shop, and this is my Toolfest 2021 video. I know a lot of y'all are home machinists or retired machinists. I'm not a machinist. I've been a 35-year millwright, but I do own a lathe and a mill, and I do know how to use them, and I'm pretty good at it. But I am by no means a machinist. Welder, fabricator, uh, basically any millwright work you could think of, I have probably done it. I'll bring you around here and I'll show you basically what I'm going to do. Okay, what we got here is a liquid transfer tank. I have no clue what was in it. It's probably 15 years old or older. I bought it off of Facebook Marketplace. I was going to go to like the Royal King or the Tractor Supply type stores and get one of those tanks that used to only cost about $230, and they're almost at $500 now, thanks to the last year and a half. Basically what I'm going to do, I got my plasma table. It's a water bed. A lot of tables have drains. I mean, this does have the drain, but I drain it. But you know what I really do, I don't drain it because I have nowhere to run. I'm not going to run a piece of drain pipe out the wall or anything. It is just water. I do collect all the steel, scrap, the swarf, everything out of it, and I put it in a 55-gallon drum and it goes to a scrap yard. I don't get paid very much for it because they don't like that. They don't like the swarf and stuff like that, but you know, I do recycle it so it doesn't get all dumped out. But anywho, I'm going to put it on here. I got to get this cleaned out. I got some stuff under here that y'all have never seen yet, but I got it. I'm so far behind on videos, it's crazy. But anyway, I'm going to drain that into this so I can basically save on my water, save on the chemicals more than anything. You know, the chemicals and they go in that to keep the water from going stagnant, and then you can also do a rust preventative additive to it, and I'll get into that later. Once I get this drained, get it all scraped out, I'm probably going to repaint it because the chemical to me is kind of expensive, and I should be able to get it to last uh, a few years really. But you just add to it over time, and as your water evaporates, you add to it. I'm going to drain that into here. It's going to drain out of the tank into the bottom somewhere. I'm going to come into the side because head pressure, water above that level, it will fill that completely up. I figured there's about, I think there's around high 80s gallons of water in this, and this is just right around 100 gallons, so I know there's enough. The water will fill this up, or it'll all drain into that. And then to put the water back into the tank, I'm basically just going to use air pressure. All right, I got my torch all dug out. I do use propane. Acetylene is just cost too much for no longer than what a bottle of that lasts. So I can actually I use 100-pound bottle of propane that will last me in this shop 6-7 months, and at probably about the same price of what a small bottle of acetylene would cost. So I would go through probably 3 bottles of acetylene to 1 bottle of propane. That bottle, like I said, that bottle of propane costs as much as one bottle of acetylene. It is a lot weaker. It's not near as, I don't know if you want to call it potent. Propane doesn't burn near as hot, but it burns plenty hot enough to do what you got to do. Pretty sure this side was diesel fuel, but it was so old it probably wouldn't even start a truck. That had a square flange on the pipe, so I just got rid of all of it. Whew. No boom. I just throw all those in my steel barrel. Okay, so I've gone through and I made this hole bigger just so and turned it up on its end so I can get to that plate on the inside a little easier. And I'm going to put a slit in the bottom through there, and then I'm probably going to put a series of maybe 3 or 4 inch holes in it just to let water pass through and keep the rigidity of the plate for stiffness. Alright, I pumped out the tank just to clean it out, and I was starting to work on it to get all the, clean up the rust and get it repainted, but some more work came in. I'm going to do some modifications to the tank because it's so close to the top, and then my piping and stuff that has to go into it, it's going to be a pain. So once the noise shuts down, I'll go over what I'm going to do to the tank to modify it. I'll update on my tank. I've been working on it a little bit here off camera. What I did here, I already drained the table into it, and I did all the math on the square footage in here, and it's almost 18 square feet. So at 7.5 gallons per square foot, that's about 134-ish gallons, and that is only about 80. So it only comes up to about here, just right below where I've cut. And being so high, and with the piping I want to put into the top of it to basically drain the table and to pump it out and put the air in it to push the water back out, I've decided to do this. I basically cut it perfectly square, or as much as a cutoff wheel would cut. And then I'm just going to basically turn it around and weld it back in like that. I got that to weld on that. and then I'm going to cut the hole and weld the pipe for the 2-inch drain to the table into that, because I got a coupler and another valve and stuff. So I'm going to need, because the table's about 2 inches above the top, so I need this room here for, you know, the valve and the union or the coupler. And basically the same thing here is where I'm going to have the drain valve for the air, and then the air piped into the tank where it's going to fill. So I basically did that too right here, and there's where I cut out all the old bungs, and I've cut this plate out, and I'm going to weld it in from both sides, and probably weld in the pipe work for the drain, and it'll basically go on the same way inside out. And then I'll go from corner to corner here and cut that so this sides are at a 45. Okay, I got a little more done. I got those pieces, the holes welded up, plates welded in them, and got them tacked on. Had to fight them a little bit. I mean, the box in square. I'm not saying that my cut lines with the cutoff wheel were straight or square, but it seemed to got all the gaps closed, everything. It looks good to me. Now like I said, I'll cut a hole in here for the drain tube, and we'll get that put in. I got this piece put on, and now I can put my pressure relief valve in it and the air inlet in with all the piping and all that. It's gonna stick about out to here, which is underneath the table. Okay, all welded. I'm ready. There's one spot that I know is going to leak, because I had this tank, because I flipped it every time, so I had all the flat weld, you know, all the welds on the flat. I didn't want to do vertical up and, you know, and sideways. You know, I didn't want to do none of that, so I flipped the tank every time to get all the flat welds. So I did that one first, second, and did these two, and then did this one. Then I laid it over on its side. A little bit of water came out of this side that wasn't welded yet, but there's an inch of water in it, and that's all that came out over 15 minutes. So that's how tight I had the metals pressed together. You know, you tack and tap it with a hammer and seat the metals together. So I have pretty tight, and that's really not that much water. Quarter of a cup, maybe a little more. But there's a 6011. That's just a single pass route. I had it turned up just a little bit, running about 135 amps. And then when I had it tipped up on this side here, so I could weld these two sides, I had a little bit of, I saw moisture on the plate right here. So right there, I knew I had, see, I already had a root pass, and then that's my screw up, and I should have fixed it then. But I'm gonna grind all this out and probably weld from here to here. And it didn't leak on the floor, so it's not bad, but it will leak air pretty quick. So, and I know the water level doesn't come that high, so it would never leak. Well, I'm gonna drain it again this time for a few days, get it dried out, get it wire wheeled, repainted, get it ready for fresh water with the proper chemicals in it. Like I said before, I use borax and a couple plant mold inhibitors that I buy at the local Lowe's or Menards, whatever. I got this cleaned out, scraped out, and dried, and then I took some more epoxy primer and went around the outside, you know, along down in here. All the white you see is epoxy. There's a lot of black stuff still on it. That'll wash off eventually, but I'm not getting that picky. Because over time the water does get dirty. I mean, this is what all of them are going to look like. But this is the effects of not using your what do you want to call it, the charge. You're going to, you know, they charge the water, you know, protect it, rust proof, and also there's an additive for bacteria. But I know this is, my table's not quite 2 years old yet, and it's got quite a bit of rust. So, you know, I was just too cheap and wanted to get on it and start using it. But you see here, here's where the slats set, you know, and that's rust. You know, and it's slowly, you know, it's going down into the metal. I mean, I can feel, I don't know if it's, you know, yeah, it's etching its way down into the metal, the slats. So when I drained it, I had a bunch of like letters and stuff from cutting out signs that was down in here, and I almost couldn't get them out. So I got a piece of, you know, raised, expanded metal. I'm just gonna tack that down on there. I got the 1.5-inch pipe welded in, and I also put it in slanted downwards. I mean, probably you can see, just because of the valve height on the handle and me reaching in there, and with the bottom of the water tray, you know, I don't want to have to reach up in there and, you know, scratch my hand or something, or try to fuss with trying to get to the valve. So I did that on a, you know, as an afterthought. I think it'll be fine. Now I got my union. Got this off Amazon. But I got to put this in there underneath the table, put this part on, and then that way I can get a measurement from it to the floor. So then when I put this on there, I'll put this one on here, and then I'll measure from this flat part of the flange to the floor. And then with the tank, then I'll subtract 1 inch, maybe a little more, probably not much more than 1 inch. That's all it has to do is hover over that, because it has to also push water up. So the pipe has to be in there pretty deep. So yeah, I'll see if I can get set up in there and get some light. Because we gotta go all the way back there where you see that pipe hanging down. Alright, got all down here all cramped up in this. So there's the nipple sticking out. I'm going to use tape and dope for water and air pressure. You want to double make sure, because that would suck if this thing started leaking. And I don't have a brush for my dope stuff. So what I'm going to do is that. And I didn't bring a damn rag down here either. It's alright. That's what work shirts are for. Get all out of the inside now. Whew. I just had a big lunch too. I'm all crouched over down underneath this thing. I'll show you the dope and the stuff that I'm using. This is really good stuff. It's actually for real high heat. We use it on a heat exchanger. We have a heat exchanger and a blower. We have to raise the temperature of the water. We use a blower to do that with. The blower needs to, we need to put it under pressure. We're basically separating, breaking down oils, pulling oils out of material. So it takes a lot of pressure, really. So we run the temperature up to 207, 208 degrees. You know, a little more than boiling. You know, but then with the blower we're running to run it, to pressurize it, we can run it a lot hotter without boiling the water, and then we can pull. We can extrude it's like a distiller. Is basically what it is, a distiller on steroids. We can separate water and oil. The hardest oil that separates the water soluble oil. We bring in a lot of that to recycle it. So that's one of the things that we do where I work. And that is the hardest thing to separate. I mean, we still do stuff like acetone and stuff like that too. We can take that and separate it. We can separate the materials in the acetone. I'd say that's plenty tight. I'm starting to buckle the sheet metal up here. So, got that on, and now pull a measurement from the bottom of this flange. So I know where to cut. Well, let's see here, 22 3/4 is about enough. Then I'll have to subtract an inch plus the thickness of the, however high up that's going to set on the floor. $22 3/4. All right, that out here, and now I gotta crawl back out. Crap. All right, I got the tank put in there, and I got it all tacked up. I got it raised, you know, raise the pipe up and put it on the coupler, and like I said, tack the pipe. The tank wasn't setting quite on the floor ish. I mean, there's a little wobble to the tank, so I did put a board and wedged it underneath the water table to push down on, you know, to act like there was 300 pounds of water in it, pushing the tank down. I didn't want it, the pressure being on the pipe and on the water table, so I kind of preloaded it, so to say, I guess. So it's getting it out, it's going to be a pain. I've already used a pry, pushed up on the bottom of the table a little bit and pushed the tank out. And now to get it out, I would just tack a tab, a piece of angle iron onto the tank itself, put one of my beam clamps on there, and then I'm going to use the crane, my overhead hoist here to pull it out. Basically got to lift it up over that blue, that 2x2 by quarter angle that runs across the bottom. So I got to lift it up that high just to get it out. Go out onto the actually, that tight right there should hold air. And all these fittings will need, I'll have to tape all these. This gauge goes to 100 pound or what do I call it, 7 bar. But I only need, you know, barely 5 pounds of air pressure in this tank. 5 pounds of air is a lot. Where'd my tape go? Okay, it's the next day. I've already gone through, pressure checked it, fixed about 5 leaks, and the biggest leak was in a factory seam, because these pieces here were cut out, flipped, turned inside out basically, and welded back in. I had some weld leak right down in here on this factory weld, and basically everywhere where I was saying it was probably going to leak, it had a leak right in here on that weld. And then up here around this porosity that I was worried about, I wound up grounding it all out and re-welded it. It had a few little, it just made bubbles. Little tiny bubble leak here, nothing major. It would have probably sealed itself with paint, but you know, I ground it out and re-welded there. It had maybe about four leaks. 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, 5 real small ones. Got some whatever I could find paint and put on it. that was in my cabinet, because it's going back underneath there to never be seen again, at least for a few years anyways. And I just wanted to put some paint on all the welds and whatnot. You know, you're going to see this front, so I wanted it flat black. It's just been painted, so it's starting to dry, but it's still shiny from being wet. Yeah, just to show you what 5 pounds of air pressure looks like coming out of an 1.5-inch hole, I'll release the air out of it, and it'll probably be full of steam there at the end of it. Well, not steam, but evaporated, you know, evaporated water, I guess, from the air pressure. Okay. Well, it didn't take much air pressure to do that. It went down about 1 inch real quick and then stopped. I heard the tank air pressure go up. I heard one of the sides pop. It's like the top, I think. So I'm going to open the valve now and let the air pressure out and see what happens. Okay, I got the green tracer dye. I'm going to mix that in. I actually spilled some that you can't see off camera, and it is just turning the water green. But I'm going to flip open the valve and pour it in as it drains down, and it'll mix with the tank as it flows, and then comes back out. It'll do a mix, and it'll be pretty cool, I think. I hope. So we'll crack this thing open. We'll pull the valve, get it to drain. And it should suck it right down with it. Yep. Alright, here goes the air. Alright, now for the sodium nitrite. Not nitrate, trite. Big difference. You need to put, for 75 gallon, this only needs to be about a half a pound. This is in a dry granular form. Yeah, this is, 2 pound bottle here, need about a half a pound of it. So this will last me for years. It doesn't take much. One thing about this stuff, if you get too much in it, you'll notice salt crystals start to grow on like your slats or anything that's bare metal. A lot of the tables are, you know, are just bare metal because of this concoction, or if you get the over-the-counter stuff, it costs way too much. You know, you don't need to paint them or seal them. This was painted just because I, you know, wasn't going to use it, but then I decided to just because of the rust problem that I'm getting on the side rails. So I wire wheeled them off and cleaned them up and resprayed them with epoxy. We'll see how long that lasts. I don't know. But this is going to keep them from rusting ish, I hope. But yeah, so I'm going to go off camera and, you know, 2 pounds of this, and then the 5s and 20, it's going to be 1 to 2 tablespoons. Knocks off any of the junk off of them. Alright guys, thanks for stopping by the shop, watch this Tool Fest 2020 video. I try to keep it around a half an hour. I don't know if I can do that, or if well, I don't know if I did it yet or not. But I hope this helps people, you know, especially with the chemicals to put in your water, you know, the plasma quench, and giving you another way to drain your tank, you know, because this water is good. People that use regular water has to get rid of it. You know, I had to do it for almost over 1.5 years. I was changing the water in it about every 3 months. So just, hey, thanks for watching. Hit the sub button for me if you would, if you like the content. I got some other stuff. I haven't got any videos out on it yet, but I'm working on a Milwaukee K&T Model H. That's a 2H. Refurbing it. I'm not doing a full restoration, you know. I don't know what you call, you know, I'm not going inside of it. There's nothing that needs fixed on it. It just covered in grease and grime, and stripping it, painting it. You know, I'm shimming the gibs, stuff like that. You know, just simple things that, you know, a home shop can do without really dipping into the pocket. It could be scraped. It could, you know, be all ground and scraped. But anyways, that's other videos. Thanks for watching my Toolfest 2020 video.